everyone, and welcome back to episode 15 of the Dragon Radar podcast. We are your hosts, Heeroh and Ajoten. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, and I'm looking forward to a 15th discussion. Believe it or not, we're ready. Let's do this. Let's begin with Roshi's rant.
This is Roshi's Rant.
So this is Roshi's Rant, the first segment of the podcast where we discuss a topic regarding Dragon Ball. And this week, we're talking about who we would like to bring back into the show who isn't around anymore. Whether they're dead or just have disappeared or, you know, they're no longer relevant. Just some people who we would like to bring back into the show. So I've got a few, but do you want to go first? Who would you like to see back in Dragon Ball?
Yeah, I think I've kind of went as a hint. I went with this cap, and it's the third member of the trio. We've got 17, we've got 18, so I think 16 should come back.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they kind of changed 17 to incorporate 16. But if you think about it, because they mellowed out 17 a lot, and they kind of liked him with the animals and everything like that. But I did like kind of what they did with 16 with his character. I found him quite interesting. I did just like him as a character. And I think it would be nice for Gohan to have someone quite similar to who he is as a calming character. Because he doesn't really have someone who's as chill like him that he could engage with. Like, yeah, he has Piccolo, but they don't really engage as much on that level. And I think just a calming character to engage with. They had a nice rapport, him and 16, and they had like this basically a pacifist. Like, Piccolo's not a pacifist, is he? Whereas 16 is, and Gohan is. And I think for Gohan to have somebody like that, I think would be nice. And I know that it wasn't really massively involved. I know it was explained more directly in the manga as to why 16 couldn't come back, but there's always a way to bring someone back into Dragon Ball. Like, it's always possible.
Yeah.
And I think they've brought back 2 of them. It would be nice to see all 3 of them. And I do like 16. I always thought he also had an interesting design as well. And I just think it would be interesting for Gohan to have more dynamics as well. And I think it's always nice to have a bit more Gohan. And I think it could be interesting dynamic to have 16 there.
Yeah, I'm wondering, what would you expect 16 to do exactly? Because out of the 3 androids, he was kind of like the powerhouse, but he didn't really... Overall, I guess, before he died, he didn't really do too much. He almost killed Cell, I guess. But yeah, he was the calm one, I guess. He was focused on trying to kill Goku. That was why he was programmed, I guess. And he doesn't appear in Future Trunks' timelines either, so he's kind of the newest android, I guess, made for the present day.
He was a protector. He was a protector of life, really.
Yeah.
He fought Cell because he was the threat. I mean, the way he looked, he disliked Cell because he looked at Cell as, he didn't fight 16 and 17 because he recognized that in the current timeline that he was existing in, he knew that 16 and 17 weren't the risk to that current timeline. He knew that Cell was the risk to that timeline. That's why he was willing to fight him. And I think that that's also what the trigger why he was convincing Gohan, because he recognized he was the risk. And I think, and he loved life. And so he's what the Z Warriors are.
Yeah.
And I think, so basically, he would adopt the mannerism is he would be willing to protect life. And I think he would be willing to basically become a Z Warrior.
Yeah.
I think he would become essentially one of the gang. And so we would be able to, and I mean, yeah, he may not be one of the most interesting characters in the world, but I think it would just be nice to have something for Gohan to be able to engage more of a dynamic, because he doesn't have someone of his mindset to explore that pacifist dynamic. I mean, he's always, it's just Gohan. He's just his little scholarly self by himself, and there is no one really of that mindset. Everyone's just kind of a fighter. Like, he has the pupil teacher mental engagement with Piccolo, but again, Piccolo's a fighter.
Yeah.
He's not a pacifist. He loves a fight. Well, he doesn't love a fight, but he's going to fight.
Yeah.
He doesn't actively avoid a fight.
Mm.
Whereas someone like 16 will avoid a fight if he can.
Yeah, I guess it would also be good to see 16, 17, and 18 together, just to see their dynamic, because the first thing I pictured as soon as you said you would like to see him back, is I pictured 17 and his like island that he protects all the animals on, and I could imagine the two of them two living together and protecting the island together and having this bond. And yeah, I feel like they, like you said, 17 has taken some characteristics of 16 by being kind of a protector of life as well.
I think when I was reading up on it, a lot of theories is that that's how 17 became like more mature and took on the park ranger lifestyle. Is a lot of people joke that it's because of what they said in Abridged, is that he's going to become a park ranger and everything like that. But a lot of people say that he's taken on the characteristics of 16's love for nature, and that's where he got that from, is he kind of did it for him and everything, and he took that on for him. And it's just, when you think about it, that would make sense, that he took his love for nature and he did it as part for 16, and I think that it would make perfect sense. But I just think it would be interesting for him to come back. I did like him as a character. He was a powerhouse. He was a good fighter. And I just thought he was just a generally cool character in his aesthetic and everything like that. And I just thought throughout the Cell Saga, he was an interesting character to have around. And I would like to have seen more of him. And I wouldn't mind seeing him back.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I would also like to see how he would look in other clothing, I guess, because he was in his android getup. You know, he had the big things around his shoulders and stuff. So seeing him back, I guess they would do the kind of same thing that they did with 17 and 18, where they like kind of made them, well, not robots anymore, sort of, I guess. So they would do the same with 16, and I don't know, him wearing casual clothes, that would be interesting. I know they hinted that he was like a soldier in the Red Ribbon Army. Whether that's canon or not, I'm not 100% sure. But maybe he goes back into the army.
I think he was modelled after Gord, Jero's son, who got killed.
Yeah.
That's how Dr. Jero modelled him after, because he's basically a full robot. That's why Shenron couldn't bring him back, apparently. I don't think they explain that in the manga, in the anime.
No.
But apparently in the manga, that's why Shenron couldn't bring him back, which is a shame. But I mean, yeah, I think it'd be very cool if I think it would just be nice to have like the trio there. Like, now that 17's back, if it had just been 18, then fair enough. But now that two of them are back, I think it would be quite cool for the three of them to be back as like all three of them together as a cool little trio.
Yeah,
I think that would be quite cool.
No, that makes sense.
And they just be out together. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that, if I'm honest. I don't know. I don't think he could really be one of the main gang fully. Like, yeah, you probably have some interaction with Gohan, because that was done throughout the Cell Saga anyway, and definitely some stuff with 17 and 18. But I can't really see him doing too much more. I don't know if he'll really be involved in many fights or anything like that, especially being the pacifist type. Which is still fine, I guess. But I kind of see him as a character who would maybe come back for an arc or something, and then kind of slip into the background again, and maybe just show up at Bulma's parties that seem to happen every other week. But yeah, I guess a character I would like to bring back is one that a lot of people have said they would like to see back, and that's Launch.
I had a feeling you'd say this.
Yeah.
I have a thought on this, but go on.
Yeah, because Launch, she was unfairly written out of the show. Toriyama just forgot about her, and that's why she doesn't show up after the original Dragon Ball. She was one of the group. She had an interesting dynamic. Her character was unique. You know, every time she sneezed, she turned, well, blonde if she turned kind of bad, blue if she turned good. And it was a constant, it was a personality change completely as well. And that was unique. You know, no other characters like that at all. And yeah, she was unfairly written out. You do see her in 1 2 second scene in Dragon Ball Z, which is when Goku is fighting Boo and he's doing the spirit bomb, and it cuts to, well, he's asking for people's energy, and it cuts to her with her arms up in the air, and that's it. You see her for 2 seconds on screen in a still frame, and that's it. She's gone again, and it's like, well, that's Launch, but where is she? Why is she not part of the group anymore? And no one ever mentions her. No one talks about her. She's completely forgotten about it, and it's unfair because she was a great character, and she was a very main character in original Dragon Ball. Like, she wasn't a side character or anything. She was a main character in Dragon Ball throughout the entirety, apart from maybe the tournament arcs, but she was there still in the crowd. And I think it would be easy to bring her back as well because she's not dead. She is still alive somewhere. We just don't know where she is. So why not? They could easily do an arc where Goku and Vegeta are off-world training with Whis or whatever, and you know, maybe Tien hears that some trouble's going down, so he goes to investigate it. Or maybe Yamcha or Krillin, whoever. Krillin's a police officer. Maybe he goes to investigate, takes them with him. Who knows? But they find Launch and potentially a new bad guy as well. And I think it would be cool if Launch was the bad guy to begin with. She was blonde, and everyone's like, Launch, what are you doing? And she's like acting all evilish, kind of, because she's blonde and she needs to sneeze. Maybe the big bad, who's like her boss or whatever, I imagine, has found a way to stop her sneezing, to turn him back. And yeah, like, this guy can be a handful for the human fighters, but you know, he wouldn't need to be strong enough to take on Goku and Vegeta, obviously, because not everyone's going to be like that. So it's possible, and it could be a mini arc with the side characters to defeat this guy, to make Launch sneeze, to turn back into a good person again, and yeah, bring her back into the group and explain why she's been gone for so long.
No, that was my other thought. But I knew you'd say Launch, so I didn't mention Launch. And I agree. I would like to see Launch come back. My only thought about Launch, however, is I think they would definitely have to, whilst they could have a mini arc bringing her back into the group, because they would have to have an arc bringing her back in because she'd been gone so long inexplicably. They'd have to have a way to bring her back in. They couldn't just randomly have her there. I think after that, I personally think they'd have to keep her in the background-ish.
Yeah, but that's fine. Like, Chi-Chi's in the background, technically.
Yeah.
And so Launch could be.
I think the type of character she is, if they had her blonde character in your face quite a lot, I think she may rub on a lot of people maybe the wrong way. In the type, like, I don't know, like, because there's a lot of strong personalities in Dragon Ball at the minute. I just don't know if the type of character that Launch is, if it would work in Super. Like, in original Dragon Ball, I think they're two different shows, you know?
Yeah.
I think it might have worked in original Dragon Ball, but in Super, I think it's a different type of show. So I think in original Dragon Ball it might work, but in Super it might not work as well for Launch. So I think she should be, like, again, it's like the silly part of Super, like when you've got the daft episodes, like when they're having like the boat parties and stuff like that. That's when Launch would shine. And then when they're like doing like the training based stuff, like obviously then less so. And I think it's like when you're doing like all the silly bingo and stuff like that, then that's when you're more like focused on Launch and stuff like that. When you're doing all the silly stuff, like when you're focusing more on the side people, like I think she would shine then. But I think that's always been the case with Dragon Ball, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
of course.
It's what you just pick your times.
Mm-hmm.
But it's but I think that's the same with any characters these days. It's like Roshi. It's like when you pick your silly moments with like Roshi and things like that. It's just you gotta, because like we've done a reaction to the death of Roshi,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a serious Roshi moment, and it was one of the best moments
In Super.
in Dragon Ball, I would
Well,
argue.
yeah,
It was
yeah, yeah.
fantastic. But you've got silly moments with Roshi, and they can be outright ridiculous. It's just picking your moments, isn't it?
Mm.
And I think that's the same with characters like Launch. It's like sometimes you just got to know when to use a very particular character. And I think with characters like Launch, it's I think you definitely have to know that a character like that can be very polarizing sometimes. And I think you would just have to know that she's definitely the type of character, especially in Super these days, because I think Super and original Dragon Ball are two very different shows.
Mm.
I think that you would she definitely needs to be kept like the silly moments. Like Battle of Gods, I think would be a perfect example of when to use her. Like the start where they're on like the boat.
Yeah.
Like she would be perfect for that type of it where they're doing all the daft bingo and stuff like that. Like that area, I think would be perfect timing to use someone like Launch.
Yeah, and she could just be there to keep someone like Master Roshi in line. Every time he says
Yeah,
something out of the ordinary or something that's a bit questionable, she can be there just to be like, hi, and then, shut him down, that type of
yeah,
thing. Make him scared for a
yeah.
second. Um,
No,
yeah, she has a
I think
place and she does fit because she
yeah,
did fit in Dragon Ball. That was her role, I guess. So,
yeah.
yeah.
No, like I think that there are always moments that you need a character like Launch,
Mm.
and I think those type of moments in especially like the times like the films where, because there are more films these days, we're getting the films again,
Hmm.
and they're becoming, well, they're canon films now, aren't they? The old films
Yeah.
aren't, but the new films are, and they're all having these moments where there's like filler moments, and I think you need a character like this that has it, and she's the prime sort of person who is ideal for that.
Hmm.
And so I think she is perfect for that, or the end of arcs and things like that, where you have your silly moments. And I think she's the sort of person you need for that. But at the moment, you're using people like Krillin and everyone like that, and Krillin's good for comedy based stuff. And but I think it's nice to have a spread, and I think
Yeah.
someone like Launch could be good for that. I
And
don't think there's anything wrong with that.
just having another female character around as well who actually does something. We have Bulma and Chi Chi, but that's kind of it. 18 as well, I guess. But yeah, having another female around just to kind of try and level things out a bit be nice to have. She's got a different personality to all of them. You can kind of argue that maybe Blonde Launch is similar to 18 in a way because they're both like strong headed women. But yeah, I don't know. She can work.
I would say 18 and Launch are two very different people, to be honest. Like 18 is like snide and a bit like brutal,
Mm.
but Launch is like vicious and like
Yeah,
she'll take you down, and like if you annoy Launch, she'll tear you apart.
yeah, yeah.
Whereas
So,
like 18, she'll just cut. She's like cutting.
yeah,
Whereas Launch, she literally shot a small child. Like,
that's true. That's true. Yeah,
um.
yeah. Fair point.
So yeah, like I think Launch has her place um in current Super
Mm.
in the filler areas, and I think she definitely should come back. And I think she has earned her place
Yeah.
through previous Dragon Ball. I don't know why she's not still here.
Just
Um,
because of Toriyama forgetting her.
yeah, to be quite frank. I mean, no one else got forgotten, did they?
No, no one else. Just and I don't really understand how when she was so unique compared to some other characters who stayed around. But
Which is
that's
very
Toriyama.
strange because they say they forgot her, yet she's in Boo.
Yeah, for
So
2 seconds, they probably, or he probably remembered about it and thought, maybe we should just show her. that she's still alive, even though we're not going to do anything else with her. And that was kind of it. Because it would definitely have been mentioned throughout all of Dragon Ball Z up until the Buu arc that they kind of forgot about launch. So it was probably fan service just to show that she's still alive.
Yeah, because they did it with 17 as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
Was he holding somebody up or something like that? 17. He was like,
yeah.
I think he was holding someone up with guns or something like that. But yeah, I think definitely someone like 17. She has her place, and I think that it's a shame that she just got forgotten about. I think it's very silly.
Yeah.
Did you see you had another thought?
I did. I had one more person who's a bit controversial because he is hardly even in the show at all. But I think it'll be interesting to see him back just for the reactions of a few characters, and that is King Vegeta. I like to see him back.
Oh.
Yeah, because the way that the same race works is when they're born, all of the babies have their power levels taken, and that decides their ranks, whether they're an elite or a lower class warrior, that type of thing. It's all based on the baby's power levels when they're born. And Vegeta, like the Vegeta that we know and love, he was like one of the best. He was an elite. And Kakarot was low level. Raditz was higher than Kakarot. And yeah, King Vegeta was the elite of the elite. He was the strongest baby on record at the time. And we never got to see how powerful he actually was. All we get is we don't see him fight at all. And we just see him get blown up with the rest of the planet when Frieza blows it up. So we know that King Vegeta is strong. It is his planet. He is the king of all Saiyans, so he's obviously powerful. We don't get to see how strong he actually is. We don't see his fighting style. We don't see anything about him, really, apart from he looks like a taller, more buff version of Vegeta with a goatee. And that's kind of it. And it would be nice. I don't know. I feel like Vegeta never really talks about his dad, even though he's constantly talking about how he's the Prince of all Saiyans. He never really mentions King Vegeta. And if they brought him back, even in just a filler episode, maybe because they're really teasing Bardock coming back in the manga, they could tease like Vegeta thinking, oh well, my dad was like a king, he was great, he was controlling Bardock, he was telling Bardock what to do, as Bardock was just a low class warrior. And maybe they could just tease King Vegeta having an appearance, even if it's just to talk to Vegeta for a while, to see him have some interaction. So I think it would be cool. And why not? Because Bardock's a beloved character. He had his own movie. Everyone knows about Bardock being Goku's dad, but King Vegeta gets no love at all. And it's a shame because he is powerful. We just don't know how much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it would also be quite interesting to see what he thinks about his son actually achieving Super Saiyan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, he was always like so proud of his son, saying that he was going to be the strongest and he was going to be the one that defeated Frieza. Yeah. I mean, he wasn't the one that defeated Frieza, to be honest.
But his grandson was. His grandson killed Frieza, so that'd be interesting.
True. I mean, technically, he got this close before Frieza blew up the planet.
Yeah.
But it was the fact that he still gets to see how powerful his son did become. He did become more powerful than Frieza at one point. Yeah. And I think to see that, would he actually have would he actually become proud of his son, and would he actually see what his son has become? So yeah, I think that would be an interesting reunion that would actually be quite interesting to see, because like you said, the Bardock reunion, if it's being teased, and if that comes to fruition, we'll be seeing that, and no doubt if he does come back, then surely they will have Bardock and Goku meet.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no way
100%.
they'll bring back Bardock and they won't have Bardock and Goku meet. That would be insane.
Yeah,
I mean, people would be raging if Bardock comes back and they don't meet.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be insane. Yeah, there's no way that will happen. And so it would be interesting for them both to get that. So no, I wouldn't say that's too controversial. It'd be an interesting concept, definitely.
Yeah, it's just that he's more of a forgotten character, I guess, and it'll be interesting to see how he reacts to Vegeta completely blowing away the scale of power level and for Saiyans that King Vegeta knows of. Like, he thought the Super Saiyan transformation was a myth, kind of. He didn't know if it existed, really. And to see not only Vegeta achieve it, but surpass it tenfold, at least, would be insane to him. And to see his grandson as well is the person responsible for killing Frieza, to see that he can also turn Super Saiyan, to see that all living Saiyans pretty much can turn Super Saiyan and stuff, he'll be amazed, and yeah, it'll blow his mind. I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's not the most impactful character, but it's a nice little nod. I like it. I approve.
Yeah. But like did you have another one, or?
No, I think they were my main, because like I said, I was thinking launch as well.
Yeah.
But I knew you were going to say it.
No, that's fair enough. We have talked about these characters for a little while now, so I guess we can move on to the Hall of Fame. So let's go.
And now it is time for the Hall of Fame.
And now it is time for the Hall of Fame section of the podcast, where myself and Heeroh battle it out to see who is most worthy to enter this week's Hall of Fame. Last week we were battling out for who was most worthy to have our Z Warrior enter.
Mm-hmm.
You chose Piccolo and I chose Krillin.
Yeah.
Who was most worthy?
So the winner, with 83% of the vote, was Piccolo. Piccolo won. He is entering the Hall of Fame this week. Well, last week, I guess. He is the best Z Warrior, apparently.
I hate everything. I hate everyone and everything.
No, well, I'm happy because that puts me on a 3 streak, and we're now back level again, 7-7 entries into the Hall of Fame each. So, yeah, what is the topic for this week?
This week, it is the best character from a different universe.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's a very specific rule here, because there is a very obvious winner.
Well, in our eyes, at least. I know for a fact that some people will argue, no, it's definitely not. But yeah, in our eyes, there's only one.
Right. If 83% would win it, I can guarantee that 99% would win it if any of us chose Hit.
Yeah.
So the big rule here is it is any character from a different universe other than Hit.
Yeah.
He is a highly popular character, especially due to being voiced by the mighty Matthew Mercer. He's such a very popular voice actor. So myself and Heeroh both agreed that he will not be chosen for the purposes of this week's Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I previously argued that he had the coolest attack as well, so he would definitely be my pick, and he has potential to be the strongest out of everyone. He just couldn't kill people in the tournament, so yeah, we don't even need to really explain why we think Hit is the best character from a different universe. But there's just a few quick points anyway.
Yeah. For a little bit behind the scenes for those of you that watch, basically, how we come up with our Hall of Fame is we just have a quick chat, and basically the first of us to throw a topic out there that we think, yeah, that'll do, we go with. So basically I chucked it out there, and then I thought, actually, no, let's not do that. And then I thought, nah, we'll just do it, just not Hit.
Yeah.
So so this week we're going to go with that, just no Hit. So as the winner, you get first. You first pick. So
I do. So my pick for best character from a different universe that isn't Hit is someone from the same universe as Hit, and that is Kaba. Now, was that your pick?
It wasn't, but I had a feeling you might pick him.
Okay, well, yeah.
Neither of my first pick nor my backup. So
wow. Okay. Well, I do have a backup as well. That might be your pick, so I'll mention them at the end if you don't pick them. But yeah, Kaba is my pick for best character from a different universe, and that's because I feel like he has the most potential out of any other Universal character for more story. He's already teased a lot of stuff with Vegeta, and it would be good to see him bring Vegeta back to his planet. and to meet the other Saiyans that are on his planet. Maybe they'll try to make Vegeta king, or who knows, because Vegeta is by far definitely more powerful than any Saiyans on their planet. So of course they would look up to him, especially after Kaba would say that Vegeta is a prince after all. They would definitely look up to Vegeta, and there's a lot of story potential there. And also the potential of Vegeta and Kaba training together, maybe training with Trunks, since they're, well, I mean, Kaba's definitely older than Trunks, but, you know, as Trunks grows older and Kaba is weaker, maybe, I mean, it's arguable that Kaba and Trunks are on a similar power level, even as Kid Trunks, you know, because Kid Trunks can go Super Saiyan and stuff. Kaba had to learn that. So it's arguable that they're on a similar power level. So to see them two train together, that would be interesting if that's the case. So yeah, there's a lot of story potential there, and I just think he's great. And we didn't really get to see him interact with many other characters apart from Vegeta. Like, that was obviously the main thing that they were trying to do throughout the Universal arc. But you know, even during other times where he's around the other characters, he doesn't really interact with anyone too much, because when he's around, there's also so many other characters around that he doesn't really get a chance to shine too much. So having him interact with Goku just to see the difference, because that doesn't really happen much. See him with Gohan, with Trunks, like I've already mentioned, with Goten. Yeah, who knows? And just to see him again with the other Saiyans on his planet. Like, we do get a brief scene with Kaba and the other Saiyans where he's kind of mentioning the tournament and trying to recruit some other Saiyans to join the Universal team, which doesn't go down too well. But just to see how he is, maybe introduce more Saiyan characters from that planet, and you know, the interactions between him and them. Who knows? But I do think he's the coolest. He has the most potential to grow. And to see him become a fully fledged warrior, since he isn't really, he was kind of weak, if I'm honest. To see him grow, become more powerful, all the training possibilities and everything else. Yeah, I think he's great. And even though he doesn't do too much so far, I think he has the most potential, and that's why I'm picking him for best character and the person I would like to see more of.
I do like Kaba. I think again he's a character mostly with potential. I think that's what I think that's the thing about Kaba, is a lot of people say he's weak and things like that. But I think that's the point with characters in a lot of characters in Dragon Ball, is you can't just have a character that's strong. It's about potential. It's about building up your characters. It's like Gohan. That was the point in Gohan.
Yep.
You saw him in the start of Z, and you saw him become what he was against Cell. You saw and that was one of the best arcs you saw, and it was amazing when he did what he did with Cell. Potential is what makes an interesting character, and that's what I like about Kaba and that's what I've enjoyed seeing with Vegeta, because it's also brought something out in Vegeta. So you've seen an interesting story between the two of them. You've seen an interesting dynamic, because I enjoy their dynamic.
Yeah.
So I've really enjoyed what I've seen with them, and every time I see them engage, I like what I see when I see them together. I like whenever I see them together. So yeah, it's not just Kaba; it's what I see with him with other characters. So no, I do like Kaba's character as well. So no, I think it's a good pick.
Yeah.
So no,
who is your pick? I'm interested now, because you said he wasn't even a backup, so you've obviously got someone in mind. So who is it?
My first choice is a little bit of a cheat, I'll be honest. It is the North Kai of Universe 10, Zamasu, aka Goku Black.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Right, I wasn't even thinking about him. I was taking it more into who appeared in the tournament. All those characters, but yeah.
I won the first, but what I did is when I was looking at characters, I looked up all the universes, and then it was like deities and then mortals, and I was like, oh yeah, there are gods as well.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it counts.
Yeah. And basically, the thing I like about Zamasu is, without him, we've got arguably one of the best super arcs.
Yeah,
I would argue. him as Goku Black is one of the best villains in Super, in my opinion.
Yeah.
His death as well, when he is in Zamasu, is one of the best deaths in Super. When Beerus eliminates him
With the
and
Hakai.
the use of Hakai. Because not only that, it actually demonstrates the power of the Hakai to me. I think him as a villain, when he's actually within Goku Black's body, is just, it's the sinister, unhinged nature that he has is very, is the fact that he's truly convinced that he's performing divine justice, but he's just really sick and twisted. Basically, you can see this and I think that's really interesting, because you can see how unhinged he is as a character, and I think that's really interesting to see in Dragon Ball, because I don't think we've really seen that before. Because with the bad guys we've seen previously, you've seen evil, and you've seen sadistic and things like that, but that's just evil. So like you've got Frieza, who's just a masochist, but he's well aware of it. He's Frieza. He's just like, he just enjoys it. Yeah. You've got characters like Cell, who are just evil. They don't care. But with someone like Zamasu, they genuinely believe they're doing what's right. And they're just genuinely and I think that's quite interesting to see that you've got someone who, as a character, is just that unhinged, that in a show such as Dragon Ball, to have someone that unhinged is such a interesting dynamic to have. And I think it's really interesting to see. And then the side of movesets they've got as well within the black body set. So you've got like Rose, sides and everything like that. I think that when he's within Goku Black, looks fantastic. The aesthetic as Goku Black is unreal.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I'm happy to announce you as winner for next week already, because Zamasu is going to win. I know that. I know he will, because I wasn't even thinking about him, and I know already that he will win, but I can't disagree with anything you're saying. Like, he is cool, and his story was unique. He wasn't evil for being evil. He had a reason for doing, well, what he thought was right. So it's understandable. And like you mentioned, his arc was one of the best arcs in Super. It is actually my favorite arc in Super. And yeah, him as a villain was great, as Zamasu and as Goku Black.
Yeah, I mean, his reveal is one of the best reveals in Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Like, that's terrifying. And I mean, a lot of people say it's not Zamasu, but that is Zamasu. That is his character. I mean, Zamasu. It's taken over Goku's body, but it's still Zamasu. And I mean, it's just, I love the voice, the mannerisms, everything. I just think it's great. I think it kind of gives you like chills a little bit, and I love him. I love everything about him. And I think it's just, I love the aesthetic of him. It's just fantastic. I think he's absolutely great. And I think it's just, to have a Kai have we've seen Kai since the start of Z as just these peaceful people that like have always just been good and have always just been everything about what's right. And then to have one just totally twist 180 and just to be this unhinged, brutal monster. I mean, the first thing that Zamasu does when he takes over Goku's body is slaughter Chi-Chi and Goten.
Yeah. For no reason, really.
Yeah, like, that is not divine justice. That is
pettiness.
That is, yeah. And I think that sort of thing to be so unexpected from a character, especially in something like Super, is just like, it just demonstrates that he's such an interesting, like, it's just such something unexpected from a villain that of his nature, where it's like he's so convinced he's presenting justice, and shows, like I said, like his unhinged nature, that it's just like he's not just evil.
Yeah.
His own mindset isn't that, like, we've got, and I think that's interesting because we've always just had bad guys. Yeah. You've had Vegeta, he was back in the Saiyan arc, he was just a bad guy. We've always just had bad guys. We've never had someone who's always just really, like, I can't think of anyone. I don't know if I'm forgetting someone. Like,
no,
I don't really think. No,
not really.
I think we've always just had bad guys. No,
Yeah.
and this is a person who genuinely believes what he's doing is right.
Yeah.
But really, he's just, to the degree that psychotic there, he's lost his way. And I think that's just a very interesting dynamic. That, combined with all the aesthetics of when he's taken over Goku's body, and you've got like Rose and things like that, just look fantastic.
Yeah,
he just looks so good. It's just the animations they've done with when he takes over as Black are just unreal.
Yeah, I think, it's going to be tough to argue that Zamasu is the best character from a different universe. Because, yes, technically, yes, he is, but also technically he was part of the same universe as Goku and Vegeta and everyone else. And this is just a different timeline of the same universe. But, yeah, I guess it counts. But yeah, it's also going to be hard to argue the fact that Zamasu and Goku Black are the same person, because a lot of people kind of think of them as two different people when it's not. It is just Zamasu in Goku's body. I
mean, if you think it is cheating,
no, we will put that as the vote.
I am quite confident in my second choice.
Okay.
I am pretty confident in my second choice actually as well. If you think it's cheating, I'm quite confident. If you want to keep it, the Tournament of Powers.
Okay.
If you think it's fairer.
Well,
do you want to keep it fair? Should we keep it fairer and keep it at the Tournament of Power?
That's
because we weren't quite sure of the rules. Shall we keep it Tournament of Power to keep it fairer in the rules?
That's up to you. I'm fine to have it as Zamasu if you want, but
no, because it's Goku Black, so it feels a bit unfair. We'll keep it within the Tournament of Power.
All right, fine. Well, who was your backup pick then?
Now I'm saying it feels a little unfair, so we'll go with that. Yeah, it feels a little unfair. Now I'm saying it, but can we just agree? Goku Black is really cool.
Yeah, he is definitely 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my backup was this Top.
Yeah, he was my backup as well. Fair enough. Yeah, but go ahead, explain.
Yeah. So, Top, since his introduction in the exhibition tournament, has always been a strong contender as an important character from another universe. He was basically this powerful enemy he was basically hidden in his cloak.
Yeah.
As this unknown entity who was he looked like he was almost guarding the gods of destruction. And then he basically jumps on Goku as the villain and basically stating that you're my enemy now, you're the villain, it's your fault that the Tournament of Power is going to happen, and I will punish you for this later.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really interesting little dynamic. This later,
Goku was definitely the villain throughout this entire arc. The entire thing was his fault. But yeah, everyone's like, yeah, I hope Goku wins, but he is the bad guy in this situation. To every other universe, this is all Goku's fault. Yeah.
100%. It's definitely his fault.
100%.
I mean, Zeno loves him, but it's still definitely. Yeah. I mean, he's Captain Ginyu 2.0. What's not to love about that?
Yeah, with less theatrics, but yeah, he kind of is, I guess, yeah.
But a bigger mustache.
Indeed.
Well, a mustache full stop.
No, but I like his entire arc as well. Like, we get to see part of it. He is the leader of the team. We see how he treats people on his planet when he's organizing the team and stuff. As team leader, we see his progression into a god of destruction, which was kind of unexpected, but it happens throughout the tournament, which is cool. And I guess the reason he was my backup is because I would like to see more.
Yeah,
I want to see
that's what
what's
I've got
next.
there.
Yeah.
That's what I've got there. Like when he changed, him changing into a god of destruction was basically it's his changing into a god of destruction was arguably one of the best transformation. It was one of the best design changes that we've seen in Dragon Ball in a long time.
Yeah.
I would say it's, in my opinion, the best design change in a character since Perfect Cell. In my opinion,
Yeah, potentially. I do like a transformation where not like I guess with Super Saiyan, the hair changes color and all the different forms of that. But I do like transformations where the body and the general look completely changes as well, but you can still tell it's them. So yeah, I would probably agree with that. Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, their power ups to me, that's not a full design change. Like his entire character changed to me.
Yeah.
Like his just color didn't change. All they just had an aura change, like with Goku and everyone like that. The only thing that changed was their aura. Like his entire body changed. It was the same with Cell. Obviously, he went from semi-perfect to full. His entire body changed.
Yeah.
It was the same with Top. Like he got markings and everything like that. Like with Super Saiyan, they're just their body. They got their aura. And I would say it's one of the best design changes since like Boo and everything like that. Like there wasn't really anything there for me. Like nothing really. I didn't really care for the changes there.
Yeah.
They didn't really look that impressive. I hadn't really seen anything, and there were no real interesting changes for me throughout the entire Tournament of Power through any of the changes like Brian or anything like that. Like I didn't really care for any of them, but his was fantastic to me. I really enjoyed it. And it also was quite interesting to see that he was this epitome of justice, and we finally got to see what happens when somebody takes on the power of a destroyer and what it actually does to you. And he became somebody different.
Yeah.
He went from being a justice fighter to torturing Frieza. Yeah. So it shows that you become something different. Yeah. And he enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it would be good to see how that continues as well, like because he enjoyed the power, like you mentioned, but to see how he controls that power and how he gets used to it more often, so that because his normal base self, he is fully about justice and pride and all that type of stuff, of course. So it would be good to see him control that so that he can still keep his morals and use that power of destruction in a, I don't want to say peaceful way, but like in a controlled way so that he doesn't break himself.
Yeah, it's balanced.
Yeah.
Well, because to be honest, because when I was thinking about this is you're supposed to use it properly. You're not supposed to use God of Destruction powers for the sake of destruction. Just for the sake of it, because Whis knocked Beerus out for needlessly destroying things too excessively. When Beerus ate the wasabi and destroyed 4 planets simultaneously excessively, Whis knocked him out and said, like, that's enough.
Yeah.
So if you just go too far with it, the angels will stop you. So there is a level of control that you have to exercise with it. So being a god of destruction has responsibilities. So obviously, if he manages that with justice, if he uses the god of destruction powers properly, which is probably why he was chosen to do it, because he's powerful and because he has sense behind him, and because he has morals and sense behind him, he's level-headed. Then that balance, if he can find an equilibrium there, then that makes sense. He will use those powers properly, and I think that'll be part of his training from the angels, is finding that balance. And I think if we see more of them in the future, which I would like to, and again we've discussed this, we want to see more of the universes in the future. I think we'll inevitably see more of 6, but I'd like to see more of there as well. Is it 11? I think they're 11, aren't they?
I think so, yeah. Because they'll want to bring Jiren back in because Jiren is the big, bad, powerful guy. Even though we've argued in a previous podcast that Top should have been the main antagonist of the arc. But yeah,
especially the God of Destruction,
exactly, because he was shown more before the tournament started. He was shown during the tournament, and Jiren was kind of the surprise, powerful guy, whereas Top's transformation, the God of Destruction, should have probably been the end-all form, which kind of takes out everyone. But yeah, I think we'll probably see more of him, and I agree that this is a good pick, and yeah, I think it will be close because Top was also my backup pick. So
there was just one other thing which I just absolutely loved, which is where Vegeta tried to call him second place to Jiren, and he immediately turned around and said, "Yeah, well, you're second place to Goku. So what are you going to do about it?"
Yeah, what a burn.
So I have to give him props for that.
Yeah, of course. But this is going to be an interesting Hall of Fame. I think it might be pretty close because a lot of people do like Kaba, but a lot of people also like Top, and Top is definitely the more powerful of the two. So it could be interesting, this one. And if you would like to vote, go check out our socials down below. You can see them right there on screen. And go vote. And one pick between Kaba or Top will enter the Hall of Fame next episode to decide who is the who is the best character from a rival universe that isn't hit. But yeah, apart from that, we've talked about this enough. So let's move on now to the hot take.
Go.
Hot take.
So this is the hot take, the final segment of the podcast where I search online to find a topic regarding Dragon Ball, which we dissect and call it trash and then never talk about it again. So this week I've searched online through the forums and troll posts and found this view from someone. And they have said, Yamcha is extremely powerful, and I hate that people forget that. Considering only the powers he can obtain due to being human, Yamcha is extremely powerful, and I hate how people always act like he's actually weak. Not only is it obvious that due to having ki, his abilities are really strong and useful, he has a great fighting style that he mastered for over 30 years. He was trained by Roshi. You might compare them to Krillin and Tien, but these two are literal monsters. I mean, Krillin even had a half-decent fight with God Goku in Dragon Ball Super, and Tien's basically obsessed with training. Yamcha did the Kamehameha before Krillin. In his prime, Yamcha was so powerful that he even beat Olibu, a human who trained for over 100 years in heaven, relatively easily. You might be whiny and say it's filler, not canon, blah blah. Doesn't matter, it's still an episode that came out and the creators definitely knew what they did and it's totally believable. And that's the take. And I, for one, agree. End of podcast. Let's wrap it up there. Done.
Of course you do.
But yeah, I do agree. Yamcha is powerful and they make it a meme that is not, which is a shame. What do you think about it?
And then he hung up his fighting gloves.
Yeah.
So the thing is, that's the thing. Like Tien kept training, and he has a dojo, and he keeps fighting. But I mean, then you could argue that Krillin did the same thing. So I think it's how you look at it. Like,
I mean, Gohan did the same thing as well. He hung up training. He only got back into it because of the Tournament of Power.
Yeah, but Gohan.
It's true, but all three of them stopped training. I understand the Gohan argument, but Krillin, he was a police officer, but he wasn't really training. You can argue he's kind of keeping up with it slightly because of his job, but not really.
I think with Yamcha, I wouldn't say he's incredibly strong. I think that's reaching a bit. I don't think he's weak. I don't think anyone said he's weak, but I don't think he's incredibly strong. I think that's reaching a bit. I think he's not strong he's weak compared to the Saiyans.
Yeah, but so is every human character.
Yeah. See, Krillin didn't fight well against the Goku and everything like that. Krillin fought smart against Goku and that. There's a difference. There's a very big difference. But the thing is, he fought in a tournament style. So they were in a tournament setting. He cut the ground from under him. He's a tournament fighter. But yes, I'm well aware that Yamcha's fought in tournaments as well. So it depends. Would Yamcha fight in the same manners against Goku if he was in a tournament type setting? If he was just to randomly fight him, then he would probably get battered. But if he had to fight in the tournament rules, then maybe he would be able to do the same thing.
Potentially,
it just depends.
Because
I think the person's not mentioned. They kind of like left that part out. That Krillin didn't just fight well against Goku. They fought well against Goku in a very specific setting.
Yeah.
And they fought smart against him. So they mentioned Yamcha's very strong, and then said Krillin fought, but no, it would be Krillin fought smart, not Krillin fought strong. Two different things.
Because we know that Yamcha isn't the smartest. Even throughout all of Dragon Ball, he was known as a bit of the clown of the group. Constantly getting himself in a bit of trouble here and there, being the butt of jokes because he wasn't smart enough. So him being tactical, it doesn't happen often throughout the show at all. But yeah, he hasn't had the best track records in the martial arts tournaments. He constantly gets eliminated in the semi-finals, and that's like a run-on joke. He's constantly getting eliminated at the same point. He's never able to progress. But he does have his shining moments as well. Yes, he was the first one to die during the Saiyan saga because of the Cyberman. But we've also mentioned previously that he was completely destroying them until he got cocky, and Vegeta even mentions, like, never turn your back on an enemy because it'll get yourself killed. And that's what happens. He turns his back, he gets cocky and says, don't worry guys, I've got this, and then the Cyberman jumps onto him and blows him up. But that's not because he's weak, that's just because he got cocky. And, we see him defeat Raccoon in King Kai's planet. When all of the Ginyu Force turn up on King Kai's planet, he defeats Raccoon, who on planet Namek was beating up Vegeta with ease, pretty much. So we know that Yamcha is strong, and he is training up until this point at least. He's getting stronger day by day. And he can defeat pretty strong opponents. So it is a shame. He's definitely not weak. And if he could, like, if everyone died of the main team, apart from Yamcha for whatever reason, and Yamcha was now the savior of Earth, I think you would do a pretty decent job. He is definitely going to be the strongest human, without a doubt. And yeah, you do a fine job. He's definitely overlooked. And yes, he has hung up his fighting boots, but I think if him and Krillin had a one-on-one fight, it would be close. It wouldn't be so one-sided as people would expect just because Krillin's a bit smarter. I think Yamcha would definitely, he's got his cool techniques that he can use, and it would be interesting to see.
No, I think like you say, he's not weak. I think the person's arguments are odd and cherry picked in how they're wording it, which is, like I said, like how Krillin beat Goku and stuff like that. Like I think they're ignoring certain factors. But in terms of if Krillin and Yamcha just had an outright fight, that would be different. Like if they just went into a field and had a fight, that would be totally different. And I think that's fair enough. I think there would then I think he would have a much better chance, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think he is particularly weak in terms of what he would do against Tien. Well, Tien's been constantly training. He's never stopped fighting. Krillin has. He has hung up his boots. He's a policeman. So he's been doing the human side of things. So
Mhm.
whilst he is technically, I suppose, like, well, no, it's not fighting, is it? He hasn't been fighting. So he hasn't been training about as much as Yamcha hasn't.
Mm.
But Tien has been actually fighting.
Yeah,
So I think he may struggle against someone like Tien. I think
yeah.
he would still be able to hold his own against someone like Krillin, definitely.
Mhm. Yeah.
Krillin's fights smart in a tournament setting, whereas Tien has always been fighting.
Mhm.
So people like Piccolo and Tien, I think, could probably outfight him, but someone like Krillin would still struggle.
Yeah, like I completely agree. I think a matchup between Tien and Yamcha will be pretty one-sided. I don't think Yamcha will be able to keep up because Tien has been constantly training. He never stopped. His techniques as well are much better than Yamcha's, arguably. Like he's got the multiform technique, he's got the four arms if needed, which you never really get to see enough, and it's a cool technique that he should use more. But yeah, I think Tien would probably overpower Yamcha quite quickly. But yeah, against Krillin, arguably he could beat him, maybe, potentially. If it was based on power alone, it would be pretty evenly matched. It's just technique and smarts, which would make Yamcha struggle a bit. But who knows? Who knows?
I no, I just think people with when it comes to arguments like these or statements like these, they need to be very, very careful with the cherry picking their arguments, and it's just saying that they can't just say like, oh yeah, but they beat Goku and but they didn't know. Just say that. Look, Krillin hasn't trained. Well, Yamcha's not trained, so that's fine. Yeah, just say that neither of them are training, and since original Dragon Ball, they've trained roughly the X amount of time the same, and it's like, so yeah, it makes sense that they'd be on the equal same power levels, and there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I mean, but Tien's always been like, I think Tien's always been stronger than Yamcha since back then, hasn't he? I mean, because Tien was a match for Goku back in the tournament sagas. I mean, he even beat him.
Yeah.
So Tien's always had the upper hand when it comes to Yamcha. So it makes sense that Tien would still even beat him now. And obviously Piccolo's definitely always been stronger than him. So there's never been a time. So the Z Warriors, for the most part, have always been stronger than Yamcha, other than someone like Krillin. So the person's point, whilst they're saying like, yeah, he's strong, yeah, but
compared
a
to the
lot of them,
others, not so much.
yeah, you're comparing them against a lot of other strong people. Just because the other people are stronger doesn't mean he's still not strong.
Yeah.
And I think there's not strong. I think it's also he has been hard done by when it comes to Tournament of Power.
Yeah.
I think the introduction of 17 was a bit of a slap in the face. But the thing is, like, Tien was very weak in terms of the Tournament of Power. He arguably shouldn't have been there, full stop. I argue he shouldn't have been there, or my opinion is he shouldn't have been there. But then again, I think the only reason Krillin was there is because he's Krillin.
Yeah.
Like, but you could say the same for Roshi. And I mean, like, a lot of those characters were only there because they were Z Warriors. So you couldn't really put another one of those in. You couldn't have had half your team as such weak characters.
Yeah.
Weak compared to the other universes who are so strong. So you had to bring in someone like 17 who is so powerful. You had to have some really strong characters.
They already say
somebody had to miss out.
They already mentioned that like their universe is one of the weakest universes. I think it was like the second or third weakest universe out of all of them, and that's why they're in this tournament to begin with. So yeah, if they were to bring Yamcha as well, like, he is strong, but in comparison to the people who were in that tournament, he wouldn't have really been able to do much. I mean, Tien doesn't do much anyway in there, but he would be just as useless, I think. If not more so.
Yeah, you needed someone like 17 who can really hold up. I mean, 17 was keeping up with Goku. I mean, you shouldn't have. Like, that was just plot armor.
Yeah.
That was a plot device. You should not have been that strong. But I mean, they did that based on the fact that he has unlimited energy. That was their justification for that. But you needed someone that powerful because you needed characters of that strength, because that's like half the team.
Yeah.
There was like Frieza, Goku, Vegeta, 18, 17, Piccolo, Gohan. Like, it's like half the team.
Yeah.
And then you've got the filler, which is Roshi, Krillin, and Tien. And you couldn't have put more in because it would have been like half the team as weak Z Warriors. And you just can't do that. So unfortunately for Yamcha, someone had to miss out for that 17 place.
Yeah, because they even took Boo out of it. Like, Boo could have been in there, and Boo would have probably won by himself. Arguably, Boo is the strongest one, especially if he works out. Because how do you hurt Boo? You don't really. So
I suppose forgot about that.
Yeah, so Boo was left out, and Yamcha was left out, and it's just because they needed more space for other people. So yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, but I still don't get why they actually. Thinking about it, still trying to work out the Boo thing. I still don't get it.
I was so looking.
I think it was literally dialogue. It must have been dialogue. It was
to bring Frieza back. That was the whole point.
No, the 17 thing, but they could have just left 17 out, couldn't they?
They could have, yeah.
I think it's just because you get no dialogue from Boo, do you? Whereas you got a lot more dialogue from 17.
That's true, yeah, because Boo doesn't really speak, and when he does, it's just baby talk.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we both agree, like, Yamcha isn't weak. It's just comparative to other people. He is, but that's because other characters are strong, and they can't all be strong. But he is still.
And the main one that you're comparing him to is Smart.
Yeah.
Which is, jokes aside, Krillin is tactically smart.
Yeah, and someone's got to be dumb. And Yamcha is the one who kind of fits there. He's the joker of the group, the not too bright one, and he fits that role well. And he doesn't need to be anything more than that, and that's fine. He doesn't need to be hated just because he isn't as strong as the others or isn't as smart as the others. He is fine in the role he's in. But anyway,
Indeed.
That's going to be it for this podcast. I hope you've all enjoyed it. I know I have. And yeah, that's going to be it. So if you have enjoyed it, please like it up. Subscribe down below if you haven't already. Go check out our social medias. Vote on the poll for the Hall of Fame. And other than that, we will see you all next time.
Yeah.